This is John Ward, welcoming you to another presentation of Tennessee football on home video. The story you're about to see unfold is one of adventure and achievement. It's the story of teamwork, commitment, and the will to win.
Doesn't need a lot of... Oh! He took a weapon!
Welcome back, y'all. Happy Wednesday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. It's time for my 7 keys to victory for our Tennessee Volunteers and a game prediction. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, later on tonight, Timmy G and I will be going live at about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the midweek chat. We want to focus a lot on the status report, what's going on with Nico and some other players for Tennessee, but also who's on that list for Georgia and what's that going to mean for us this weekend. And there's several other topics that we will be hitting on, but mainly it's going to be about whatever y'all want to talk about. So please come in early with your thoughts, questions, and concerns so that we can get to it. The chat does have to cut off at some point. If you come in late, we can't guarantee that we can get to your questions. So with all that being said, all fan bases are welcome except for Georgia. Y'all are not welcome by any means. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. All right, key number 1 for me for Tennessee to find success this weekend is calm nerves. We've got to come into this game and play loose. I watched the Players Lounge last night with Gaston Moore and Jake Merklinger, and Gaston told Merk that this game is different. And I understand what Gaston's saying with that, but you might not want to say that to everybody on the team because people take that differently, especially these younger players or players that's never played down in Athens or that's, never played in this game, period. So come out there, play loose. A whole lot of the, on the road stuff or big game stuff as far as pre-snap penalties and penalties in general, just mistakes. That comes from playing tight, man. If we come out here and just play football, it's something that most of the guys on our team have done for their entire lives. They're really good at it. So all you got to do, man, is go out there and ball out. I think especially for Tennessee's wide receivers, I want to see them start to play with a lot more confidence and expect to catch every single ball, regardless of where it's thrown at, man. Make some catches, get open. Georgia's secondary is going to hold you and all that type of stuff. You can't let that get to you because the rest probably won't throw flags on most of them. So just go make the catches, man. Ball out, play loose, play with very calm nerves. And I think that if Tennessee does that from top to bottom, we won't just win this game. We will dominate this game. So key number 2 for me is going to be to protect the ball. Now, I'm talking mostly about DeSant with this because he has had some issues fumbling. We know that Tennessee's probably going to lean on him a lot in this game. Georgia's going to punch at that football. Now, the thing about that is whenever you go after the football on defense, you're kind of like leaving some more room for those running backs to run because you're not necessarily tackling with proper fundamentals. So DeSant will have the opportunities to keep on chugging. And I know Coach Sims said, hey, he's got to be able to walk that fine line between when can I keep on getting yards and when am I starting to put the football in jeopardy. I think that he definitely has to do that in this game. Don't try to overemphasize it, but just be very mindful of it. But it goes for everybody on this team, offense and special teams, maybe even a little bit on defense, man, if we get some turnovers or whatever, man. Just protect the football. As long as we do that, I think in this game, really these first 2 keys, that's going to be critical. I think if Tennessee can hit on those first 2, everything else is pretty much gravy. Key number 3. Win one-on-ones. This goes for every single body. You got to beat the man in front of you. You got to win whatever you're supposed to do on that play. Focus on your job. But again, man, more specifically, I'm talking about Tennessee's wide receivers. Georgia's secondary is not great. It's probably the worst that I've seen from them in quite some time. We took a look at their pass coverage on Pro Football Focus. It's rated a 25. That's absolutely horrible. But even still, man, we've had the opportunities over the past several years to beat them down the field, whether it's been missed throws or drops, whatever it is. We haven't capitalized on that. And if we did in some of those previous games, Tennessee probably would have won. The same thing I think is true coming up this weekend, man. The wide receivers have got to win one-on-one. But I would also kind of highlight our secondary because Georgia will try to throw the football down the field some, but a lot of it's going to be underneath stuff. Now, I trust all of our corners. Really, I trust the entire secondary versus a wide receiver core that has dropped a whole lot of passes. They haven't looked great. They have no real playmakers on this team, but you still got to win one-on-one. We could even talk about the isolation with our ends and with their tackles, with our D tackles and their guards and their center. All across the board, man, we just have got to win our one-on-one matchups. Key number 4 for me is to kill the run. This is specifically talking to our defense. I think that Georgia's probably going to try to lean on their running game a lot more in this game because their offense has kind of stalled. As a matter of fact, it's going backwards. So guys like Mike Bobo, Kirby Smart, really Georgia from top to bottom, they're a run-first organization. That's what they want to do. They haven't done it this season. But if you look at their running stats a little bit closer, it's ranked number 103 or 109 or something in the country, but they're averaging like 4-something yards per carry. So the yards have kind of been there in spurts. I think that they're going to try to lean on that more. Tennessee needs to make sure that we do not let them get started running the football, because once that happens, you put the ball in Carson Beck's hands, and nobody trusts him to go out here and win, especially versus Tennessee's defense. I think that once we turn Georgia into a pass-first team, now all of a sudden we can bring those different blitzes. Our front four can really start to get after Carson Beck, and we can just kind of play coverage, and we will force them into some mistakes. That's where Tennessee wants to play this football game at. So we have absolutely got to kill the run versus Georgia. Key number 5 is to kill the screens. Now, I'm talking about the wide receiver quick screens. If y'all didn't know this, Georgia actually runs almost twice as many of these wide receiver quick screens than Tennessee does. And I think that that's a little bit shocking, but it's most of what their passing offense is. They want to get the football to their playmakers out quickly and let them just make plays, because they have no idea how to scheme things up down the field. All Tennessee has to do to stop this is play sound, fundamental football. Come up with proper leverage, attack the people that's blocking and make good tackles. If Tennessee does that, we've pretty much, taken away what Georgia likes to do within their offense. Now, key number 6 for me is going to be to protect the middle. This is really big, because outside of, being able to run the football just a little bit, or running those quick screens, Georgia wants to throw the football to the middle of the field. P and I have tried to tell y'all this for years. That's all they like to do within their offense. Teams have finally started to take away the middle, and now Carson Beck looks very average, very mediocre. So Tennessee needs to do the exact same thing in this game. If we protect the middle, if we take away those screens, if we kind of slow down that running game, all that's left is the outside stuff and that deep stuff, which Georgia is not going to be good at, especially versus this team. Again, that's exactly where we want them. Key number 7, okay, last key, run it up. Leave no doubt.
Run it up, Herman! Leave no doubt!
We've been getting disrespected by the AP rankings, by the CFP rankings, all that type of stuff. People want to get us out of the playoff picture. They don't want to see us be great. So we have got to go down to Athens and leave absolutely no doubt that we are the best team in the nation. It should be on full display this weekend. All right, y'all, now it's time for my game prediction, starting off with Tennessee's defense versus Georgia's offense. We talked about this on Monday. Tim Banks had a perfect game plan last season versus Georgia. And this wasn't executed well because we had several players out, especially in our secondary. I think we're down 3 to 4 players that were starting caliber. But this season, man, we're a lot healthier. And just from top to bottom, this defense is a lot more talented than the defense was last season, even with the starters. But I think especially at cornerback, that's where Tennessee kind of got exposed versus Georgia last season. It wasn't a ton of stuff down the field, but on a lot of those crossing routes, drags, and things like that, Georgia was able to keep drives going on third downs. But we knew exactly where Georgia wanted to go. The scheme, the play calling, all that type of stuff. It was perfect for the play call that Georgia had. So obviously Tim Banks, and really now everybody, has a beat on what Mike Bobo likes to do on offense. And literally all Coach Banks did last season was run a whole lot of man-to-man coverage, which, that takes away pretty much everything, especially if you have the proper personnel, but also, a lot of cover 3, which takes away all the deep stuff and everything in the middle of the field. But cover 2, I think we can run a little bit more of that this season. We did run a good amount of that last year, but all cover 2 does is it's going to take away that flat area. So, we talked about the wide receiver quick screens. That'll help out with that. But also it takes away all the deep stuff, or at least most of the deep stuff, in a good portion of the middle of the field. Now, Tennessee likes to run Tampa 2. I think that that's a perfect coverage to stop almost everything that Georgia likes to do. It's literally perfect. So I would not mind seeing us run a little bit more of that in this game, but Coach Banks is going to know how to dial things up. We got more pressure on Georgia than anybody else did last season. I also think that, we did a really good job of slowing down what Georgia likes to do in that running game. Again, I am expecting for our defense to take a big step forward from where it was last season in this game, and Georgia's offense to take several steps back because they're already reeling. But as we touched on, I would expect that they'll try to lean on that running game more. That's a good thing for Tennessee. I'm hoping that that's what they do, because that's where Tennessee's real strength is at. And if they can't find success there, then they're going to have to go to that passing game. That's when I think Tennessee will start to get some turnovers. I'm expecting at least 1 interception in this game. I think we'll get pressure on Carson Beck on a consistent basis. I think that we'll, be able to have a beat on all their plays just like we did last season. But I would expect that our defense is going to be very, very, very dominant in this game, and I'm very much looking forward to this matchup. Now, let's flip it on over to Tennessee's offense versus Georgia's defense. Now, last season is pretty much the same thing that we said with Coach Banks, Coach Heupel, Coach Halsley, whoever's really running that show. They had a really nice game plan versus Georgia. We had a lot of people that were open that we just missed, especially down the field. This year, we have absolutely got to hit on those players. because if we do that, then this game's going to get blown wide open. But I do think that Tennessee can find a lot of success running the football at Georgia, I'd say over and over and over again. Now, the thing about Georgia is that they will run different variants of that 3-3-5, just different looks. So you could think about every different 3-3-5 look that Tennessee has seen this season. Georgia's going to run every single one of them. I think that most of those teams probably bit off of what Georgia has done over the past couple of seasons. But we have an answer to everything, especially what Arkansas did to us. I think that 12 personnel is the real answer, because within that tight, bunched up 12 personnel, we know that we're going to have the one-on-one matchups on the outside, and Georgia's secondary is not that good. We should be able to beat them consistently down the field. People will for sure be open. Now, the question is going to be, will Georgia try to keep somebody over the top for those types of situations? If they do, we are going to run the ball for 300 yards on them, or at least we should. Another big thing in this game is going to be with those hanging outside linebackers, or, the hanging edge players, because whenever Tennessee runs those read options and things like that, if Nico doesn't keep it, whenever that outside player that we're not blocking crashes down, then they'll have success in slowing down Tennessee's run game. It's really been more of, secondary players and just the players that are kind of hanging off of the edge outside of the box that Tennessee has had more trouble blocking in our run game. If we can find a way to, scheme up some blocks versus those guys, even if it's just for a pause or just to slow them down just for a tick, Tennessee is going to find a ton of success running that football within that 12 personnel or any personnel that we get into. But also what we've seen with that 12 personnel is that it's grown a lot, because we're not just bunching things up. We're also flexing those tight ends out, and we're spreading out that field. That's another way that we could find some easier running lanes and also find some mismatches with some of our good tight ends that go out for, passes like an Ethan Davis, who I think is almost like a wide receiver playing at tight end. But then also I think Holden Stays is really good at it. So is Miles Kissam. I mean, listen, we're very deep everywhere on this team. We just got to start using our weapons a lot more. We've talked so much about how this team is kind of hitting so many things that we can do. We've shown it in spurts, but versus Georgia, we typically pull out all the stops. So do not be surprised if we have people wide open. The biggest question is going to be about the execution, whether it's Nico playing or Gaston Moore. People are going to be so wide open. All you got to do is just, take your time, throw the football to them. Now, talking about Tennessee's offensive line, if you look back to last year, we actually did a great job of blocking Georgia's front, whether it was on stunts, blitzes, them, dropping 8, only bringing 3. We did a really nice job of keeping Milton upright and giving him the time to work through all of his reads. I think that we'll do an even better job of that this season, because our offensive line is taking those steps forward. And we all know that we've got several guys on this offensive line that have played in Athens before. They will know how to set the tone with this offensive line and what they need to expect. We might see a few, false start penalties, things like that. That is to be expected, but we have got to minimize that so that we can stay ahead of those chains. But I think that we'll do a good job of moving Georgia's front and also of just, making sure that our quarterback has the time to throw the football. But I do want to see our quarterbacks keep the ball on some of those read options and just have the threat of their legs, because whenever you do that versus Nick Saban defense or versus Kirby Smart sort of a defense, which, Kirby Smart just copied off of Nick Saban. But there's a lot of room to run with our actual running backs. It just opens up everything. So we have to utilize everything, I believe, in this game. But we don't need for our quarterbacks to be some, extremely dynamic playmaker. Just manage this game well. Running backs hold on to the football. We need to rotate more guys in. I would love to see us try to run 3 guys. But in a game like this, DeSamp probably going to have to get, 35-ish carries. So can he carry that load? What does Bishop give you? Can Peyton Lewis help us out? Can Cam Selden answer the bell if his name is called? All those types of things, man. I just think that we've got so many players. We've already touched on our wide receivers, tight ends, I think could be big in this game. But there's so many players that could step up. There's so many different ways that Tennessee could find success versus Georgia's defense that really is nowhere near what some people think. Even at this point, people are still giving them too much credit. I don't even think that, Ole Miss has a nice offense, but the way that they were able to work the middle of the field on just some simple slants and things like that, I mean, Tennessee can replicate all those things. And I think that we have better players, from our front end to our back end than Ole Miss does. I think that we have a better scheme too. So it's just all going to be about the execution. Again, man, just playing calm, playing within yourself, and just going out there and daggone balling. But I do have my Tennessee Volunteers winning this game, and I think that we could end up winning it big. Like we talked about earlier, as long as we play calm, Tennessee will dominate in this game. I feel more confident about this game than I did heading into that Bama game. And y'all saw how that one went. But those are my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all tonight. Thanks. Peace.